Hey, what's up guys? Mickey Mitchell here, and in this video I'm going to be giving you an overview of Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, coming up. Okay, so I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to make more money other than my normal day job, and I kept stumbling across many people mentioning this one book, so eventually I caved in and I just had to see what the big hype was all about. I bought it online for about $8 plus shipping, and let me just say, best $8 I've invested in a while. There's a gold mine of epiphanies and information packed in this little book. And being a slow reader myself, I finished it faster than most books I've read, mainly being because I just couldn't stop reading it. A little background check. Robert Kiyosaki grew up in Hawaii in the 1950s with his biological father, who in the book refers to him as his poor dad. And then there was his friend's father, whom he calls his rich dad. Now, one of the dads has a PhD and works very hard to earn his money. The other dad, however, does not have a high degree, and he rarely even works for his money. Which dad is the rich one, you may ask? Well, if you guessed that the father with the PhD, who works hard for his money, is the rich one, then you're wrong. See, that's what really got me about this book, because I realized that I've been trained my entire life to work hard for my money and to save it and be careful with it. I have never been taught that there was another way or other ways other than getting a high salary job and working endless hours and starting a retirement account so that one day, long and far away, when I'm in my 60s, I'll be rich somehow. This book opened up an entirely new world of possibilities for me. Now, I recently learned that these revolutionary concepts to me are actually just the basic grounds for building wealth, but I didn't know that before. Well, here's part of the reason why many people do not know this stuff. He writes a lot about how the education system nowadays is flawed in the aspect of only teaching people how to work for their money without even any basic knowledge about finance. Our schools today teach us to master a specific profession so that when we graduate we can work on that profession and hopefully work our way up the corporate ladder with raises, bonuses, and promotions. It doesn't even matter if you make $1 million a year. You would still need to owe the government about $330,000 in taxes because of your 33% tax bracket. As your income in a job gets higher, so do your taxes. So inflation draws income up into the higher brackets, and it's called bracket creep. He writes about how the rich avoid taxes because of that. So, okay, here's some main points that he mentions in his book. He writes clearly about what an asset and a liability is. For someone like myself who has been looking for ways to increase my income and decrease my expenses, I realized after reading this that I've been missing 50% of the wealth game. You see, I thought I had it figured out already. I set up an income and an expense column that determines how much money I earn per month by my paycheck, and then how much money I spend on expenses such as gas, food, rent, and insurance. It never crossed my mind until reading this book that there are two more boxes to look for. Those two boxes are labeled assets and liabilities. This adds to the complication of cash flow regulation, but is widely unknown concept by most people. This is the one thing that you need to master and visualize if you are looking to one day possibly becoming a millionaire, because this is how they think and this is how they use their money. Very, very few people become millionaires just by working for their money. What Robert says in this book is that the poor and middle class work for their money, but the rich have their money work for them. The middle class get up in the morning and they work for their money. They spend time at the office or at the job site, and then they get paid for how much time they put into their work. Then they clock out and leave, and then that's it. Even if you had a job like sales or can work from home, you still are trading your time for your money, which is the main concept here. Here's what he means by that. I'll show you an example by looking at these charts from his book. You have an income statement, and then you have a balance sheet, and these represent your cash flow. If your income is greater than your expenses, you are doing decent, but the leftover money is almost always minuscule. If your expenses are larger than your income, then you are considered to be poor. My old mindset, which is my middle class mindset, was this: well, as long as I'm making more money than I'm spending, then I'm good. That's a good mindset. That will definitely keep you from being poor, but also definitely not make you rich necessarily. The chart depicting the cash flow of a rich person is different. There are two more columns that they focus on more. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. It actually took me a while to understand the difference between the liability and expense column, because I told myself, oh well, both are just taking money from you. Isn't that the same thing? Yes, they both are taking money away from you, but think of it as your expenses are the cost it takes you to operate in life. And then the liabilities are obligations and debts that you owe, especially over a period of time. Robert argues that a house is a liability because you make a down payment on it, and then you are now obligated to pay off its mortgage over time, making it difficult to build your assets in the process. Also, buying a car from a dealership and paying it all over time is a liability. So are children and pets, as cruel as that sounds. Expenses are things that will always remain, and you need to keep them in life in order to live, like food and rent. Okay, so here's what the rich focus all their energy doing: building their assets. What they do is they build assets by real estate, stocks, dividends, businesses, and other passive income sources. They do this so much that their asset column ends up growing bigger than their income column, completely eliminating their expenses too. They do this while lowering their liability column by not paying for mortgage or taxes and not having to pay off credit card debt and student loan debt and such. This is why rich people tend to get richer, because they have built this asset momentum strategy that makes their money work for them. It's like a snowball effect. It just gets bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. It's that simple. Well, the concept is simple, but it's a difficult thing for people to achieve because a lack of financial knowledge and discipline. We often fantasize about how the rich become rich without putting into account any financial knowledge. Robert Kiyosaki makes a great point in exposing the education system for creating workers and not entrepreneurs. I want to warn you, however, about Robert Kiyosaki's YouTube videos. He tends to be a bit of a clickbaiter, and he talks about the same old information he's been talking about for years. He offers overpriced online courses and seminars, and he is taking advantage of how the other fake gurus retain their audience online. I would suggest watching Spencer Cornelia's video on Robert Kiyosaki, as he shows the negative side of Robert's videos and information. I'll have links both in Robert's book and Spencer's video down in the description below. Still, this book is a gateway drug to the mindset of a millionaire, and I've only heard good things about this book. He doesn't tell you the exact steps of how to become rich or anything, but he offers a dose of how millionaire mindsets work. And that is mostly what I got out of it, and what other people I've seen got out of it. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this overview. If you received any value from this video, please hit that like and subscribe button down below for more of my content, and I'll see you next time.